I'm Nicole Jones, host of Mediocre to Masterful, a podcast teaching you how to go after your goals that you've pushed to the side. This is a resource to help you be fearless with your goals and familiar with the feeling of success. This podcast includes best practices to elevate your goals in multiple areas to help you pursue mastery over your life. Today I have with me Kristen Hopkins, the founder of Dangers of the Mind, author of 2 books, Dangers of the Mind, and then 30-Day Affirmations Challenge. Her work with Dangers of the Mind impacts the globe as she has worked with schools in the motherland and visited Ghana, uplifting the next generation. I closely associate the word fearless with Kristin because of her accomplishments, and I should add because her apparel line promotes the same characteristics. So Kristin, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Nicole. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. I'm excited that you're here as well. I think we're really going to dive into some great conversation about no fear zone and allow people to tap out of their fears and get into their goals. So I'm excited about that.
Yes.
But before we get started about No Fear Zone, I'd like to talk more about Dangers of the Mind, your company, your baby. I'd love to hear about your visit to Ghana and what experience for you.
So Ghana was very special to me. The last trip I took was last December. I was there for a month, but I've been there twice, and I'll be there again this December. But Ghana is very special to me. It's a very special place. My mentor, he is actually a king in Ghana, and he's also my pastor. So he goes to Ghana back and forth bi-monthly, and I'm very close with his family as well. He invited me the first time in 2015, and I got to understand, the country and what it looked like, and just the beauty of it, and the beauty of entrepreneurship. And I went to Elmina Castle and just kind of understood my roots a little bit better and understood what our people went through. And so it was just really an eye-opener for me. And then, of course, I spoke to schools while I was there as well and taught about my curriculum. And that right there blew my mind, because for me to see kids to be able to understand what the dangers of the mind are, and what I do, it just really was amazing to me. So, Ghana will top off to saying, this is it. This is what I want to do for life. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that was really special, especially being able to visually see and feel, having a tangible example of people taking your work and understanding it in a way that you were just thinking about the people around you here in the States, and then to see and feel the people across the world to also understand what you're trying to share with others is just, I'm sure, amazing.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was mind-blowing, actually. I'm like, whoa, you guys understand this? Yeah. And you have this too,
Yep. That's awesome. Beautiful. Now, what events actually led to the development of Dangers of Mind? When did you feel like you had the calling? Because what many people don't know is that you and I were in PR back in the day, met like at a Women in PR event in Miami. So what led you to where you are today?
Yeah, so of course I had a series of events that occurred. I lived in Atlanta, and I was living in Buckhead. I mean, you could not tell me nothing, honey. I was just thinking I was feeling myself.
Yes, if you're in Buckhead, you have made it.
Yes, right? You have arrived, right? And surely I did not arrive at that point. I had a good lucky situation, and I got up in there. But when I was there, I was like young. So I moved to Atlanta at like 22. And I had already had a PR company that I was working on when I left Connecticut, because I did PR for McDonald's corporate for almost a year and a half before I really officially started my PR company. But I started a company on the side, but really started and going full entrepreneurship with my former business partner, Katrina Highsmith. So we started this company, and it was beautiful. We loved it. We were fast-paced. We were going all the time. But also I was losing myself as I was doing that, because I was young. I was just kind of like trying to figure my life out, trying to figure out who I was. And if you know anything about Atlanta can do that to you really quickly. It can just make you lost. And
yes. A lot of oh my gosh, I'm a victim of that.
What do you came down there for. So I started like losing sight of it, and I just started playing around and not really maximizing my opportunity as an entrepreneur. And so the three things that occurred to me, and these are things that are in my book. Number one, I getting dressed for a party, and I saw like my kitchen flooding, like, but I heard it though. I heard it in the hallway, and I'm like, what in the world is this? So I heard just like drops, drop, thinking like my dog was licking water or something. So I go in the hallway and I see like literally water shooting out my light fixture, and then I go to my second like bathroom and water shooting out the wall, and I'm like, oh my God. So I realized like my place was flooding, and then like the next month I was drinking and driving, coming home from the club, but I was actually with some friends, and they dropped me off in my car, and I was like persistent to go home. I was literally only 5 minutes away, and so I sit in my car drunk and driving home. End up like hydroplaning, spun around 7 times, smacked into a pole. My car was totaled, and then that next month I went to turn on my computer. My computer totally fried. So I literally lost my transportation.
Oh my gosh.
My living arrangements and the way I make my money all in a matter of 3 months.
Yeah.
So I felt like depressed. I got really, really, really depressed. And I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm going to go. And I actually had a friend of mine who owned some Zaxby's in North Carolina at the time and wanted me to contract out to do some PR work. And it was like, oh, my parents are in North Carolina. Let me go out there. Let me like get my situation back together, save some money, and then come back to Atlanta. That was the goal. And the first day I walked into my parents' house, I heard Dangers of the Mind. I didn't know what that was. And so I went upstairs to my mom's office and I wrote down Danger of the Mind. I remember because I had a red pen. I only could find a red pen. And I wrote it in red. And I just looked at it for like 30 minutes. I'm like, what is Dangers of the Mind? And so I left it there. And the next day, I literally, because I had no computer, so I opened up my mom's laptop and I just started writing. And I wrote that book in 3 months.
Wow.
And it's crazy because I wrote for 3 hours. The first time I wrote for 3 hours. But as I was writing, I was just crying. I was crying, yeah. And I didn't know what I was writing. I didn't know what I was writing whatsoever. And I went back and looked at what I was writing, and I was writing at every attack that happened against my thought life that shifted my progress. Everything that was delaying me from being who I was destined to be, whether it was brokenness, whether it was fear, complacency, insecurity, perception, like drowning in a world of perception, distractions, it was just talking about all the different things. And so that's how Dangers of Mind came about. When I put the book out, I kept hearing this date, June 16th. And I was like, what is this date? And I just was like pushing to get it out. So I like self-published my own book. I found an editor, I found a graphic designer, the whole 9 yards. And then I put it out there, and I looked at the calendar, and it literally, from the time I started writing to when I put it out, was 9 months. And so, yeah, I was revealed that I had birthed a baby.
Wow. Yes.
And one book, I've opened up 5 avenues of business out of my one book. I have 5 streams of revenue from one book. So
what an amazing story.
Yeah, so it's just an encouraging story that I always tell people, like, what if I never wrote that book? Like, I never saw all the things that I have from one book. So it's mind blowing. So it makes me act on every single idea now. Because it's supposed to be amazing.
Yes. Yes, yeah. What an amazing story. Yeah, and earlier I said your baby, and hearing that part, this literally is your baby.
Yes, it is.
So I was going to ask, did you battle with faith and fear when you started this in the career? And it sounds like you did, because God was basically telling you to be still. Mm-hmm. You had 3 catastrophic events happen within a short period of time. And he basically stopped everything you were doing. And again, to that fear of, being in Atlanta, where I feel like if I'm not doing enough, or I should be doing this thing, I need to be involved in a million different events in Atlanta to make it be known that I have arrived in a sense.
Yep.
So, yeah, I can definitely see where fear and faith kind of played a hand in the start of this journey of Dangers of the Mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was like, first of all, I never wanted to be an author. I'm just gonna put that out there. I was in PR, so as you know,
Yeah.
PR, we are the liaison, so we're in front, but we're not really in front of
Mm-mm.
anybody but the people that were supposed to be in the back scenes, right?
Exactly. And we do a great job at it too, making everybody else look good.
So when it was like, we be an author, what, we go to the forefront? Like, whoa, that was not what I signed up for. So I really fought that. And then at the end of the day, I was only 26 years old when I put my first book out. So I'm like, who wants to hear a 26-year-old story? Like, I haven't even lived my life,
Yeah.
but I had a lot to say. And I'm so happy that I obeyed God and that I put that book out because of the fact that that was fear. That was false evidence appearing real. It was fear of the unknown. It was if you don't know what's on the other side, you will never reach your goals. And if I never took that leap of faith,
Yeah.
and blocked out the fear, I would never be here today. So I definitely battled it, but I had to push through, and I had to, like, just like I always tell my friends that are like in the middle of writing books, I'm like, you better push that baby out. You gotta push like you're in labor, because like,
Right.
it's getting so hard towards the end, and that's when you know what you have is for the world.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Beautiful story. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Thank you.
Telling your truths.
Yeah,
So, looking at reading the book is awesome, by the way. I read the book like in one sitting, just about, and
yes,
I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. Each of
yes.
those chapters, I think people would really be able to relate to. And reading it, it feels like, I feel like you're like a no fear psychologist, basically. Like
Yeah,
a lot of the things in there are about your mental capacity, being able to tap into what you should be thinking about and controlling your mind, essentially. Is it difficult to break through to people when their work really starts within, when you're sharing this book with others?
yes and no. And the reason why I say yes and no is because sometimes you just have to pour into someone and to
Mm,
allow them to see beyond their circumstances.
yeah.
Because a lot of people have these like blockers on,
Yeah.
where these like invisible blockers, where it's blocking everything but only what they see in their environments, only what they're
Exactly.
comfortable with. And so you have to, once you get past that wall, you could be golden with them, because they, and once they see beyond what
Mm-hmm.
what they only see in their little boxes of their little
Yeah. In
world,
their
then you
periphery.
know,
Yeah.
yes, then you know that they can really attach on and know how great they can be. So as long as you break that wall down so that they can understand the potential of how great they can be, then that's where the healing starts coming inside, and that's where you start getting that self love and that self peace and
Yes.
respect back. Because when you have those three things, you can do anything. But it all starts within. It starts with you. It starts with your attitude. It starts with your thoughts. So I have this quote that I always say, and it says, "The position of your mind determines the posture of your life." And
Mm.
it's in my affirmation book, and it's a really special quote to me, because it's really breaking down that every single day our minds are in a position. So it's in a position how we think, what our thoughts look like, and that determines the posture of our life. It determines, are we aligned with our destiny? Are we aligned with our vision that we have for ourselves? And so we're not positioned correctly, then we can't have the best posture for
Mm.
ourselves. And
Mm.
so once you understand that, it's really another world for you. You enter into another realm, I would say, of
Yes.
understanding.
Yes. It's an enlightenment in a sense.
Absolutely.
It's like that aha moment you hear Oprah talk about so
Yeah.
often. Like I just had this
Uh-huh.
aha moment.
That's what it is. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it is. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. So when you're working with these clients, because that's a lot of work, that's a lot of internal work, and these people have to recognize that they have these mental blockers.
Mhm.
How do you help them identify their internal fears, their mental blockers, or determine whether it's mental illness? I think this is important to distinguish because
Yeah.
every day we are made aware that mental illness is a lot more common than we think.
Yeah.
How do you help identify that?
So a lot of my clients, and I would say a lot of my clients are school districts. So in like youth detention centers. So
Mm,
I have a curriculum, and it's a social and emotional literacy curriculum built for 6th through 12th grade. So I work with school, like kids that could be from all the way from 13 to 24 years old, actually, because in alternative schools, 9 to 12th grade can still be like up to 24 years old. And they're still getting high school diplomas at that age, which is actually interesting. So I have psychologists and social workers that support my program, and that's really important to me. And by supporting, they come to our trainings prior to us training the staff in each facility on how to implement our curriculum throughout their facility. So it's really important to me because when we dig into these lessons, all of my lessons are very interactive, very project-based learning, allowing a child to dig into a little deeper. And so we break it up in components. So like the first component is discuss it, and the next component is journal it, and then the next one is apply it, how to apply it to your life, and then extend it, how to research deeper, how to learn more, and just not be okay with knowing how to apply it, but learning what's the next step to take.
Yeah, I think that's key.
Yeah, and so we kind of focus on the whole child as far as the managing their emotions and building their character level. So it's right before that cusp, before that mental health piece can, or mental illness piece can creep up. So we're trying to prevent the mental illness piece. But there are kids that still have it. So what we do is we refer them out to social workers or the psychologist to have a better relationship. And what schools are looking at us now is saying is that we're like a stepping stool to getting the right kids, and pointing them in the direction of where they need to go as far as the psychology support. Because psychologists would never know of these kids if we didn't have this platform in a classroom. And so our program is in every advisory block. So kids have to take it.
Right.
And so it's really not pressuring them, but allowing them to tap into their emotions on a daily basis.
That's a huge component.
Yeah.
That's a huge component and a lifesaver, and something that I'm sure the parents and the school system are very thankful for, because a lot of this might not have been identified had it not been for you guys stepping in with this program. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm really passionate about that because I just wish that I had something like this growing up. If I had a class like this, I feel like, I believe I'm pretty successful, but I believe I would have been like sitting on the couch with Oprah right now,
At Super Soul Sundays.
Like seriously. So it's like, I want these kids to break every chain and barrier that's blocking them so that they can just like skyrocket.
Yes. Yes. Cue Break Every Chain.
Yes.
The song.
That was a cue.
Right. That was it. That's a little drop in right there. So that's amazing. Dangers of the Mind is doing great work. I feel like this is going to continue to expand and reach the globe in more ways than one, for sure. So that's very exciting. So let's talk more about fear and goals specifically. We set this tone for what Dangers of the Mind does, and we talked about fear and how you guys work with people and children within your program. Let's just talk about fear and goals in general. For me, goals are very important. But me being a project manager, and then, outside of project management, goals and planning is just a part of my everyday life. Like, if it's not written down somewhere, if I don't have like a vision board somewhere, like it will not happen. It's not going to work. But fear and goals, what does fear and goals sound like or feel like? For me, some examples are like mediocrity or lack of commitment. What have you noticed or experienced yourself as far as fear and your goals?
Well, what I've noticed from a lot of people that, always like, Miss Kristen, I can't do it, or I can't do this, it's excuses. And it's like, I was just having a conversation the other day, and people always say, you're so like, you could be so like harsh. And I'm like, yeah, but like, there's no room to be nice. When it's like, it needs to happen now, and there's no room to like swallow somebody and say, oh, it's okay, when all you're doing is making excuses every single time. So I was in a conversation, and one of my friends was like kind of just talking about what she was going through, like in a new city. And everything she was saying, I was listening to it, but it was all excuses. It was excuses not to go out. It was excuses I'm an introvert. It was excuses like, and I was just like looking at her. and then when she was done with her conversation, I was like, what I'm about to say may come off as very harsh, but everything you told me is just excuses. Like everything you told me, I could rebuttal you with that excuse.
Yes.
Like that's an excuse. It's an excuse. You're trying to cover up your fears with excuses. Yeah. And people do this every day. It's common. And they delay their progress every day. Life is about progress. If you're not progressing, you're not living. Yep. You're just merely existing.
Yep.
That's not life. And so to understand that is very important. And I always say that there's two types of people in this world. There's mediocre person and there's successful people. There's a mediocre person and there's a successful person, and there's a line in the middle, and that line is opportunity. Yep. Mediocre people don't see the line of opportunity. Their eyes can't literally see it. They walk by it every day. They pass it. They don't network. They don't stop and talk. They don't reach out to people. They don't connect the dots. When they are networking, they don't see the opportunity. They don't jump on it. But successful people, they see opportunity and they act on it right away. And that's the difference. Yeah. So, the excuses is the main problem that people are allowing to continue to trap them or keep them bottled up, because they want to always make an excuse for fear.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Because my friends, my family, especially my brother and sister, will tell you, Nicole, keep it real. She's hard. She's bossy. If she says that you can do it, you can do it. You cannot come up with excuses, because as many excuses you came up with, you could have achieved the goal by now.
I know. It could have been done.
We could have been on Oprah couch by now had we not, allowed some things in the past to stop us, from what we wanted to achieve. So I totally agree. And the example you gave as far as the opportunity line, that's real. Yeah. That is real. And I hope that somebody was able to take that and like, I might be on that other line of opportunity and I need to tap out of this. And then for the people that are these people that come up with excuses, like the friend of the friend, you can't allow yourself to enable them as well. You have to be able to be real with them if you notice and recognize that their life purpose is to come up with excuses. You can't enable them to continue to come up with excuses. Right. You're either going to help the situation or step out of the situation, I believe.
Yep. And I actually have another resource. It's for specifically for in-school suspension. But it's crazy because it made me think about this, because I developed I was writing, I actually had a dream one day, and I felt like I wanted to make the DOMs, like the dangers of mind, come to life. Mm-hmm. So fear and brokenness, insecurity, complacency, I started drawing emojis to these dangers of mind, and then I wrote it as a character. And so in my in-school suspension, kids are reading it as a character. Wow. And they're actually, they're reading it as a character. And it's just you'll see the little eyes and all that. And
oh my goodness.
As a character, and then they have scenarios that are real life for them. So a lot of it is self-reflection. So how to get over fear, a lot of times it's to self-reflect on a daily basis and understand what you've done that day. Did you try new things? Did you try a new routine? Did you, change up your daily day-to-day walk? Did you identify some of the things that stopped you today? Just that self-reflection piece can really change someone's course of the trajectory of their life.
That's awesome. Have you noticed through that and any other work that you've done some key reasons why people harbor fear? Is it because they don't do that self-reflection piece? Is it because that they are enabled so often that they're used to coming up with excuses?
Yeah, I believe that it's definitely both of those things. It's also complacency. Fear and complacency are like best friends. They know each other so well.
Totally can see that.
If you know fear, you definitely know complacency, because that fear can continue to make you comfortable. And I tell people all the time that if you need to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, because being uncomfortable, you're growing every single day. So when you're comfortable being uncomfortable, that's the perfect place to be. And because you need to grow constantly, and that's what I would say.
That's awesome. Yeah. I totally agree with that. And I read that that was one of my favorite chapters in the Dangers of the Mind book about complacency, because a lot of people, either they don't know that's the reason why that they harbor these fears and can't move forward, but if they read that one chapter, they're going to realize, this might be why I can't move forward on a lot of the things that I set out as goals.
Yeah.
One of the situations I've come across is when someone has fear, I try to encourage them to, stay the course, because it'll all work out in the end. Like, you have to go through this process in order to see progress, basically. And the one thing that they feared happens. And then I have my thoughts on this, but I want to hear, what would you say in response to that person? Well,
failure is a part of success. Like, it's a stepping stone. You have to fail in order to succeed. You have to lose in order to win. It's just the principles of life, And so I would always say, you have to, whatever fear that you have to beat it. You have to look at it in the face. You have to see it come to life in order to be successful, in order to get over the fear and know that, hey, if this happens, I'm going to be okay. If the fear that I thought was going to happen happens, I'm going to get up and I'm going to dust myself off. I have some bruises all over me that y'all really can't see physically there, because I failed thousands of times before I got it right. And, even going into a new field of going all into education and going into social emotional learning, I'm still learning, I'm still growing. And Correct. So I'm always failing, but I'm always failing to learn again and failing to grow. So you can't, the fear of the unknown is the biggest thing that people have fear of, and it tries to cripple them, and it's like, you can't allow it to. You can't allow it to. No.
Yeah. And it's just a part of the course, basically. Failure is a part of the course, and even when you are planning and setting your goals, there will be some failures, but it's a part of growth. So I don't want people to, hear us talk about fear and complacency and failure and think that the goal development process is not something I should be doing because I'm going to fail anyway. No, it's a part of the process. You have to go through that. And goal development, in my mind, is a healthy practice towards success, because it allows you to create a roadmap, essentially, on where you're trying to go. And sometimes the goals that you have set for yourself will make you a little bit nervous and, or another term, scare you. I hear a lot of people say, this goal that I set for myself, it scares me because I've never done that before, and which is a good thing. You hear people say that from time to time, and you're venturing into something new, so it will scare you, but it's not fear in terms of you are not moving forward, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're not saying break away from those goals, yet we're saying don't be fearful in trying to pursue what you're trying to achieve, meaning don't stunt the success of the goals that you're trying to go after.
Right. You can't because you will never see progress.
No, not change. At all.
And I'm really truly about impact. I'm about seeing impact on a daily basis. I'm really, really big on that. And so a lot of times I battle with social media, honestly, because even this week I was in the schools and I was just pulling data and trying to understand, figuring out what the data looks like, telling a story through the data. And it was I don't have time to be hey y'all, snap, in the moment sometimes. And sometimes a lot of times we worry so much about the fear of what people will think, but the fear of making sure our brand is continuing to move and that we're always showing ourselves. And when you're in the phases of working and developing something, it's not always the time to try to put pressure on yourself to show every single move when you're in the moment. And so I want to encourage someone today that is listening to this, because it's important to not allow fear to stop you from really living in your moment and not allow it to change your identity, of who you truly are. That's a lot of times what people go through when they are battling fear is identity crisis. They go through these things.
Yes. It feels like imposter syndrome in some cases.
Absolutely. They're trying to live for other people. And I tell my kids this all the time, you can't live for others. You have to live for yourself. And that's why our legacy over likes shirt is so important to me.
Yes. I love that shirt. That was so genius. I was like, that is so perfect.
Thank you. And I'm truly about it. I feel like we don't live for the legacy anymore. I'm living for change, man. I'm living for impact. I'm living for progress. And I'm living to be able to die and say, this is what I've created, and this is what I've started, and this is what I'm passing on to generations, to come.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, it is about the legacy. I think in a lot of cases, at least from the millennials that I've talked with or read about online, we're all on this journey of creating a legacy because we feel like we're at this turn where we're trying to do something a little bit different than what our ancestors or our parents or grandparents have done, and step out and do different things that allow us to take care of the next generation, basically, in a different way than our past has done. Yep. And I think with the help of, online capabilities and just instant access to so many different things, creating that legacy is a lot more attainable than it once was in the past.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And so another reason why people should not be fearful in trying to achieve.
Everything you want is at the top, like the tip of your fingertips. Like,
yes.
You want to be a mechanic, go on YouTube and learn how to fix
exactly. Subscribe to a channel.
Right. And you're learning. Like, no reason you shouldn't be going after your goals.
Yeah. There's just none whatsoever. Okay. Like what you hear? Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Mediocre to Masterful and on Twitter at M2Masterful. And when you check out our website, make sure you subscribe to our newsletter for freebies and information about upcoming podcasts and ways to master your goals. Kristen, tell me what you think about this. I believe that everyone is fearless and that we're almost fearless when we're a child. But as we grow up, we are continuously learning to hold on to that fearlessness. That we're trying to, as we grow up, we have this relational data, experiences we can associate our fears to, which is why fear then begins to set in.
So I definitely feel that being fearless is definitely how we are born. We're definitely fearless as a child. Whether we just jump up and say anything we want to say. I remember when I was a child, I used to jump up and say a testimony service, and my mom be looking sit down, So
just what is this girl about to say?
What is she about to say? So we were just fearless, as children we don't think, we just do. But as we get older, we start seeing that other people start we start kind of following the society of what people do.
Yeah.
And so we start seeing that other people are going a certain way, and we kind of start going that way too. Whether that's strictly to 9 to 5 versus I don't want to be an entrepreneur because I'm nervous.
Correct.
Or whether it's you're following your peers, they don't want to join the football team, so you don't want to join. It all starts from cultivating in schools.
Mm-hmm.
It cultivates your character, it cultivates who you are, and you become this person that was once this fearful.
I can do anything.
And now, wait a minute, I gotta think before I do.
Yeah.
And sometimes we gotta just do.
Yeah.
Just like Nike says, just do it.
Just do it. Just do it.
So
yeah.
I definitely feel that it cripples us. It cripples us. Because we're so worried about what the next person is doing. And that's what makes us not as fearless as we can be. And that's where we are in this society right now. And I see it a lot within our kids. I see it with adults, young adults. I see it with older adults as well. People read my book all the time, and they could be from 60 years old or 15. And they're all impacted the same way because it happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
No one's left out.
No, not at all. No matter what generation, I think people would be able to relate to what we're talking about and your book in general because it impacts all ages, basically. And there are, you hear it all the time, the baby boomers and those that are older than us say, I can't do it because that's a millennial thing or it's a tech thing. No, you just have to tap into what it is that you feel fearful of, or the fact that you don't know, you're fearful that it won't work because you're unaware of how to get there. You just have to apply yourself. And that Nike attitude, basically, just do it.
Just do it.
So yeah,
just not even think about it. Just go ahead and do it.
Yeah, I mean, you hear like graduations each year of somebody who's 89 years old that just graduated college because they didn't allow this society to continue to stop them from what they said they couldn't do at the age that they're at. So it really applies to all.
Absolutely.
So describe the feeling of actually being fearless, of actually living in this no fear zone capacity. What does that actually feel like?
Okay, so I have this clothing line, and it's called, well, we call ourselves Fearless Gang.
I love it.
Fear crossed out, fear and it's crossed out. And I always say that we're fearlessly walking in our purpose. So every single day when I wake up, I am fearlessly walking in my purpose, meaning that no one, no person, no thing is going to stop me from getting what I need to get done today, impacting people that I need to impact today. I also wake up like I'm definitely not normal because I wake up and I have like a burden on my heart that I feel like I need to impact people. Like every single day, it's like a burden. I feel like that if I don't impact or I don't talk to someone or I don't touch someone's life today, my day was not worthy because I know my gifts. And so I always tell a lot of people that when you know your gifts, you can't abandon them. You have to use them, because it's like a disservice to God because he's given us so many gifts, so many wonderful gifts. And if we don't use them, we're displeasing him or we're disrespecting him. Yeah. And so I try to use my gifts every single day to give honor for even having the gift. I don't want the gift to be taken away. I've seen things get taken away in my life,
Oh, yeah.
I have to cherish what is now, what's the present. And so I always cherish my gifts and I always use my voice and I always make sure that my voice is a platform or instrument to be able to touch and hurt or touch and help someone if they need to be helped.
Yeah, and that's a constant journey to actually live in that fearlessness and actually have your no fear zone or aura or energy, if you want to call it that.
You have to be okay with not knowing the unknown. Like you have to be okay with not knowing what's the next step. In my Dangers of Mind book, I put when God shows you his plan for your life, you can't help but to walk in the confidence of knowing. You might not know where you're going, but you're walking in the confidence of knowing that your next step is ordained or your next step is there. And so that's the fearless walk, Yeah. When you wake up every morning and you're like, I don't know where the heck I'm going, but I'm
going. I'm going that way.
Yes, that way. That's all I need is a direction signal or something. So that's fearless. That's being truly fearless and living in the moments that make impact and that make change.
Yeah, and that's beautiful, and that's something that is unmatched. That feeling, and there's nothing you can compare to because there's no weights. You're not holding on to anything. You feel light, and you're walking in the direction led by faith, and not allowing fear to stop you and where you're going because at the end of the day it's going to work out anyway. It's going to work out.
It's all written. It was crazy. I was telling my friend the other day that in college, I did a play. And when I was talking about the play, because my minor was theater, and when I was talking about the play, I was like, oh my gosh, like this relates to my curriculum now. I'm like, so everything that we do is just like, it's just written, it's ordained. It's like, it's a path where you never know why you do things, but they always connect later on.
Wow.
So like, don't take anything for granted because everything that's small is connected.
Yeah.
I've seen it happen. It just blows my mind every time it goes full circle for me.
Of course. That's just, and that relates closely to how I ended up in project management because, of course, I started out in PR, communications, and at one point I wanted to be in production. And I worked at, the #1 Atlanta radio show at one point. downtown on, now here I am with a podcast,
Yes,
using
see?
those same tools, using those same PR tactics, using those same communication skills now into where I am at today. And project management kind of is like the center for me now of how all this comes together, because now I am good at strategic planning. I'm really
Yes.
good at organizing and being able to keep a deadline and a schedule in place. So all this, and then of course public relation help with that long form PR timelines. So that kind of led me into then project management, schedule timelines for large projects.
Yeah.
And it just all plays a part. It's a ripple effect. And at the moment that you're doing whatever that thing is, you don't understand the wide picture of it, but it'll eventually all come together when you don't allow fear to stop you and you go after things that you enjoy. It'll all then come full circle,
Yep.
basically.
That's how it works. That's how it works.
Yeah, every time, every time.
Yeah.
So those were all good feel good stories, and sharing some examples from what you have done in the past. Tell us a really good, masterful, fearless moment from one of your clients or someone that you know.
Well, I will say that in my program, none of the kids, their goal wasn't to graduate. Like, it was just like, yeah, they were
Wow.
just like in my programs, and all of them graduated. Except for one
Wow.
students. And I think that showed me so much fearlessness from them that they portrayed that day, because a lot of them were first time graduates in their families. And so graduation was not something that they saw. They were just trying to make it day by day. And so that was really inspiring to me, because that showed me that they're stepping out of their comfort zones.
Yes, big time.
And they have goals, and they have dreams about what they want to do with their careers, and they have visions. And so we worked really hard on that in order for them to really become fearless. There's been like so many experiences. Oh, also I work with authors, just writing, helping them learn how to write and self-publish books. And I do it a lot, but I don't really broadcast it, honestly, and I need to start. People always come to me and say, hey, do you help people with the books? And I'm like, oh yeah, I do. And so I'll like go over that with them. But just to see people come out with books, and after being so nervous and being so scared, to put it out, and it's like working with them to say it's not about anyone else, it's about you.
Yeah.
Because your story has to be told to the world.
Yeah.
And if you don't let it be told to the world, that's on you. You have to get it out there. I believe everyone has a story. Like, I believe I'm a really avid like book writer. Like, I want everyone to be authors, because I believe everyone has a unique story
Yes.
to tell, and the world needs to hear it. No one's story is not unique. I think that everyone has a specific story that they've been assigned, that's their life, and every chapter is a different year or whatever.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
And so I really love to see when people like finish books and like they're just confident in it, and I just see them like taking off. It really like makes me proud.
Yeah, that's beautiful, especially when you are writing a book and you realize your story will also help someone else because they have a similar story. Maybe not the exact same issues or, topics that are in your book, but they can relate and they're like, wow, someone else has also dealt with the same thing that I dealt with. So it's stepping out of that fear and being vulnerable, really, and sharing your story.
Vulnerable. It means vulnerable. Oh my gosh. I'm reading a book right now, and I like get into places sometimes where I'm writing and I'm just so emotional, and it's a beautiful thing to me. It's like a refreshing thing that comes
therapeutic
over.
almost, I'm sure.
Very therapeutical. Like when I'm getting my emotions out, and then I bring it all back in. It's like, wow, I put it all down on paper. And I know that everything that I do is really truly going to bless someone. So it's like I'm always trying to get it out, because I know it's going to help someone. Like I'm not writing for no reason. My writing is specific for someone to read and their lives to be changed. And that's how we have to think, in order to continue to be fearless.
Yeah. I think what a lot of people see on social media or your page or your other social media outlets is all the good things and the glory and the travels and the events that you attend and the panels that you're on and the schools that you're in. But, all that is a gradual rise to success. You're on this constant journey of success and following the goals that you have set for yourself. Yeah. What are some of the things from a personal development standpoint that you're still trying to work on and improve on and be masterful at, and not allowing fear to set in?
Yeah. Okay. So this is a good one. Many. I am reading a lot of books. My current read right now is Mindset with Carol Dweck. She's a psychologist that started the growth mindset theory, and so it has a lot to do with there's two different type of people as well: growth mind and fixed mind. People that want to allow growth to happen, they want to learn daily, and then there's people that have a fixed mindset that feel like whatever you know now is what you know, and you don't need to learn anything else. And so she talks about the difference between those mindsets. So I'm really into that. I'm reading a lot on that. I'm reading a lot on social emotional learning to grow in that field even more. And then I'm growing spiritually. I read a lot of spiritual books and really just kind of balance myself and really know who I am, who Kristen Danielle Hopkins is, who I am on this earth, how powerful I am, as a being, but also as a child of God, and then reverencing God as the CEO of my business. I'm just managing it,
Oh, yes.
And so I'm really,
all day, every day.
Yes, all day. Literally, he leads me. I literally go places, and I'm like, where am I? And then something happens, and I'm like, oh, thanks God, that's why I'm here. Yep. And sometimes my days doesn't make sense, but they're the most beautiful days. And so I believe that that's where I am right now. I'm in a place where I am for sure growing, especially in social emotional learning. I'm also in data collection. I'm so new at trying to tell stories with data, and I have a team of people, researchers that help me tell the story, and evaluators. And so that is a very new phase for me, and that is a priority for me right now, is to because I've seen my program physically work. I've seen lives change, and it was the most beautiful experience ever. And I want to continue to see that in every single part of this world. And so every single school district, I want to see this curriculum expand to the nations. And so by wanting to see that, I have to learn so much about the back end of the business and making my program the tightest and most structured program that school can ever get, so that the implementation process is a smooth ride.
Correct.
Correct. Yes, that's what I'm working on right now, is really focusing on having just a number one social emotional curriculum that people hear about all over the world, and that it's affecting and impacting the lives. So not just hearing about it, but seeing the change in the lives that have been through the program.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, the information behind data is important. You can learn so much, and it can go on for days.
Days and days. Yeah, I got folders upon folders going through with my team now. So I understand.
Oh yes. So what are some things that Dangers of the Mind has coming up?
So we just went to Haiti. And spoke with, so every year we go to, this is actually our second year, so we'll be going on our third, but it's, I partner with a company called Project Kumi, and they service kids in the villages in Haiti with the Haitian American Caucus. So I go out and I teach students from 13 to 18 years old, and we pick two topics every year about the dangers of the mind, which would be fear and insecurity, or perception and complacency. And we do activities. And I also have a translator with me everywhere I go, because the kids speak Creole. Mm-hmm. So, and then I will be in schools. The school year is coming up, and so I'll be speaking to different schools. We're implementing our curriculum now, and not just alternative schools, but youth detention center and comprehensive schools, some charter schools. So this school year, we'll be in way more districts than we were last year. And last year was my second year with this program, so it's expanding really, really fast.
Wow.
And like coming up, I'll be speaking to schools. We do a kickoff presentation program, and then the kids go into our program. So that's really exciting.
I can only imagine.
Yeah,
like you probably get just as excited about the first day of school as the kids do, basically.
And I'm like on my knees, like, God, please, like we're like nervous and sitting in bed, like, and trying to get your outfit picked out.
Yes, I was about to say, you got your outfit, you got your shoes.
That's me, but I'm like in prayer, like, please, But yeah, no, it's good. It's good. I always like enjoy it. I blend in with these kids. I walk in, they would think I'm like in the hallways with them.
Of course.
These kids look so grown, nowadays. I'm over here looking like them.
I'm like, oh my gosh, did I look like that at 12? I don't think so.
No, we did not. It's something in the water. But, when I'm there, it's good because I speak their language. And, I look like a peer. So it comes across, the message is well received by them.
Awesome. That is awesome. Well, Kristin, thank you so much. This has been really great. Before we wrap up, how can people connect with you online?
Well, I have two things. So they can connect to me through my personal Instagram and Facebook and Twitter is Kristen D. Hopkins. On Facebook, it's just Kristen Hopkins. And you can type in like Kristen Hopkins, Dangers of the Mind, and that'll pop up. And then also they can get in touch with me by Dangers of the Mind on all platforms, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, just Dangers of the Mind. And then my email is Kristin@dangersofthemind.com. If anyone wants to email me after hearing this and wants to sign up for our newsletters, you can go straight to the website and it'll pop up. And we do freebies. So we do how to eliminate fear in the new year. So it gives you 5 tips on how to eliminate fear.
Just in time, because this is about that time where people need to be setting up, 2019 goals.
Absolutely. And then we also talk about how to leverage opportunity. What that looks like. And so there's a lot of good freebies on the website. Once you sign up for our newsletter, they'll pop right into your email.
Awesome. Well, I think between, searching the information that you have online and this podcast, I really hope and I feel that this spoke to someone or, a few people in terms of getting over the hurdles of fear. And, thank you for joining me today and sharing some of your insight and details about Dangers of the Mind.
Yeah, I'm happy. I was happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I think this is a wonderful podcast, and it's just going to get better and better and better. So I am so excited for what you're doing. Yeah, jumping out and not letting fear stop you.
Yes, not today. Not today. Well, Kristin, thank you so much. I truly appreciate those words. That means a lot. And I thank you all for listening. Hey there, Mediocre to Masterful is online. Visit mediocretomasterful.com to listen to our podcast or find us on iTunes. Share this episode with those you know in need of motivation. Through our site, you can join our Masterful email list to get freebies and helpful information. We're also on Instagram @Mediocre to Masterful and Twitter @M2Masterful. Thanks for listening.